Greetings this evening of your time. How are you? Oh, thank you very much. Allow me to begin this interaction with the entitlement. Remember the association with a little bit of a hyphenation between re and member. Thank you. Allow me to first explain that we have from time to time shared with your society the notion of an association of many planetary societies. Do understand that this is in no way, shape, or form what you would label an army. And in fact, though it may appear to someone viewing it from quote-unquote outside to have a hierarchical structure within it, from within the structure, there is no hierarchy. One of the, shall we say, mottos, perhaps you can say, since that translates adequately into your language, that in that sense applies very strongly to the association, is the idea in and of itself of unity in diversity. Therefore, allow me now to express and extend to you, shall we say, a degree of individual membership to the association. Now, do understand, planetary membership, global membership is something which is just that, an agreement by your society en masse to participate in that way. So in that sense, I am not at this moment extending to your entire planet, shall we say, global membership. But there has now reached the threshold, has now reached the point within many individuals whereby you may simply in that sense individually, so to speak, enjoy, shall we say, what you might call, somewhat colloquially, a limited membership. Pun intended. Now, this is all that there is to it. This is really quite simple. Again, unity and diversity would perhaps be the banner that you would fly. And this will translate in many different ways into many different societies. The way that it would translate into your society, the method that we will use this evening to, shall we say, make the point, will fall into basically 5 ideas that we have discussed before. When in that sense, you are the embodiment of these 5 ideas. Any moment that you are in that moment a member. Virtually, because you are acting like one. And in that sense, perhaps you can say, for the limited individual membership that we are extending, all you need do is act like a member. When you do, you are a member. Perhaps in that sense, if you do not, then you no longer are. But you are activating, and perhaps you can say sometimes deactivating your own membership. This is solely from you in that sense. Number 1. Unconditionally love yourself and others. Very simple. It is simply the understanding of unconditionality. And again, you can only do so in response to others in your reality, when first you will afford yourself that unconditionality. Removing the conditions to your willingness to love yourself is really quite simple. Where we perceive it as difficult is in the imposition of the conditions themselves and the withdrawal of the love, the self-love, when you, in that sense, do not meet the conditions. So simply becoming unconditional is a matter of simply saying, no matter what, I will love myself. There may be things from time to time that I explore that I do not prefer, but I will use them and not impose the condition that should I explore them, I will remove my self-love. As in that sense you do so. As in that sense you afford yourself that complete, unconditional self-love. You also then extend that to your ability to unconditionally love others. In a sense, you can say you get practice. There is sometimes the notion that if you just love others enough, perhaps you will then love yourself. But that is a bit backward. And to the degree that you are not willing to love yourself, you will always have the barrier to loving another to that same degree. for your willingness to exercise your ability to be unconditionally self-loving reflects in all your external relationships. So number one is simply unconditional self-love and love of others. Number two is the recognition that everything is synchronicity and acting that way. For regardless of whether or not you do choose in that sense to see that everything is synchronicity, it still is. That is automatic. Everything is synchronicity. They are inseparable. When in that sense you are willing to view that it must be synchronicity, you allow yourself to see why you created it. You allow yourself to see how it serves you, and that is positive synchronicity. But when you deny it, it is still synchronicity. Though perhaps your experience of something you are denying will be interpreted along negative lines, which we will get to. Number three, perhaps this is new to some, perhaps not. From what is available in every given moment, do what excites you the most with integrity. And we purposely, in that sense, presented this in the middle of the five, for it is the hub around which all five of these ideas, in that sense, revolve. And it will always be the action that when and if you take, in a sense, you may understand the rest to be automatic. So number three, do what excites you the most from what's available in any given moment with integrity. Number four, everything in your reality, all events are a set of props with no built-in meaning. You supply the meaning, and the meaning that you supply determines the effect you get out. In that sense, this is hinged somewhat to number two, that everything is synchronicity, for your willingness in that sense to begin to understand that the meaning is assigned by you and not inherent in the symbol is generating your willingness to act as though everything is synchronicity. So they are linked very closely, interlaced very closely. Number five, the present is not a result of the past. You create the past from the present. You create the future from the present. And in fact, you only ever create in and from the present. The present is the only time that ever exists. It is the only time you ever experience. All events are simultaneously occurring. All events are right now. But what you perceive as a succession of moments is the playing out along a linear timeline of that totality. But it all exists as one unit right now, and it is simply your willingness to explore your style of timeline reality that allows it to appear again to be a successive, shall we say, progression of moments. Your understanding and willingness in that sense to understand that the present is not a result of the past is a key that literally in and of itself will unlock you entirely from third density and allow you to walk as a fourth density being upon your world. For what in that sense individuals will generally use to bind themselves to time is these notions of past having an effect, having an ability to have an effect in a present moment. Now, when you create that the present is a result of the past, yes, it feels that way. Yes, you will get the evidence of it. But what we are speaking of is that that is only an option, one option. And your other option is to understand that the past has perhaps led to the present, but no longer has any effect in the present other than what you assign. So therefore, you are the ultimate assigners. You get to assign in that sense the timeline, and you get to assign positive or negative meanings to all symbols that have no built-in meaning. These five ideas in that sense 5 representing many things. It is the humaniform number. You have 5 races upon your planet. You have 5, shall we say, electrochemical senses. You have, at least at this time, 5 races upon your planet. And therefore, for the purposes of this convenience, for this symbol that you have created as a representation of humaniform, we render much of what we have discussed with you down to these 5 ideas. Understand the following. When you act according to the parameters that we have just discussed, you are a member of the association. You vibrate as a member of the association, and thereby can be seen, can be found, can be perceived by other members of the association. Again, there is a distinction to be drawn perhaps between individual invitation and global invitation. When in that sense, your society as a whole decides that it may wish to join the association, it will be doing automatically the things that we are already discussing. And the vibration of your society itself shifts in a way that you are now within a different vibratory reality. Were you right now as a planet to, as you say, explore space, you would find many uninhabited planets. And perhaps find right now, with the vibration of your society right now, a rather barren neighborhood. But simply the slightest shift in your vibratory awareness by acting as a self-empowered being, which is what all, in that sense, association members are, you literally shift your vibratory reality. When you do this as a planet, you then begin to explore, shall we say, areas that may now appear to have life where there was none before. But the idea is you have become the vibration to now be able to perceive that life. And again, globally, this will occur. To some degree, you are crossing a threshold in the global sense, both today and tomorrow of your time, whereby you will find as individuals, it will be that much easier, that much more effortless for you to begin to act in this way. For there is now enough momentum within the mass consciousness to, so to speak, you still are active. This is not a passive process, but so to speak, ride on the coattails of your mass consciousness. Such is the power of the momentum that you have created. When you are willing as individuals to act as members of the association, you will find, you will begin, and many of you already have, to literally see things that weren't there before. To interact with other levels of reality that your society has not agreed en masse to interact with. Sometimes perhaps you will see things, as you say, out of the corner of your eye. This will not be uncommon and has already, again, to some degree, already begun. Do understand, this is a very exciting time upon your planet. You have already began to transform as individuals, particularly those present, and have done so without, shall we say, the benefit of the gate you are about to walk through. So you will find that many of the areas that you have formally created a sense of difficulty in will begin to smooth out, will begin to make sense, will begin to fit, will begin to piece together the puzzle that you are in a very blatant way. Understand, as we speak, we are, meaning myself, what you would label Bashar, and a female individual from my planet in your immediate solar system. Therefore, this is a very strong, shall we say, area of time also to communicate with us. Now, not that there really is a difference from our end, how close or far we are proximately, but there seems to be from yours. So therefore, you can remove any of these particular conditions and understand we are nearby. And welcome from any individual the willingness to interact as you say, in your consciousness. As you are willing to embody the 5 ideas that we have discussed flawlessly, simply because it makes sense to you, simply because it represents who you are, you will again begin to notice differences in your perceptive reality. One particular, shall we say, prevalent change in your perception will be the idea you call your perception of the passage of time itself. For again, you do not exist within time, but literally create time. And this gate, shall we say, one of the characteristics of it will be that it will now enable you to begin to loosen up your grip on your creation of time. You will find as you are beginning to be the person you say you prefer to be, you will literally create less time, which will appear to you that time has flown by, as you say. But in that sense, you are literally creating less time, for you are integrating the many parts that you are. And now that you no longer have so many parts to view, you no longer need to create the time to do so. And as you integrate, your perception of time will, in that sense, exponentially seem to, in that sense, accelerate. You are literally creating less time. If in that sense, and we have shared this before, members of your society perceive the passage on your clock of 1 hour, but you experientially perceive the passage of approximately 15 of your minutes, understand that you have created less time in relation to the creation of time of your mass consciousness. And though they have perceived the hour and have aged the hour, you have only perceived and only aged the 15 minutes. And you will find, as a direct result of being aware of this, for you do it automatically anyway, that you can accelerate and enhance that particular ability, which will literally prolong your physical lifespan. Literally. One thing that also as well ties into this most strongly is, again, your willingness to release what you perceive to have created as the chains shackling you to your past. For that past only has the ability to hold you in such a way because no one ever told you anything else. Now we are sharing that. And it will always, in that sense, be your option to choose your old reality or your new. And we are not even saying that the new is any better. Simply that it may enable you to create your reality according to preference within a time frame that you find most desirable. Because you literally, again, create less separation and then therefore create less time in which to experience yourself and begin to simply be. In the moment, simply be. Part of being is looking around and seeing what is right there. Each moment is unique. Each moment is a gift. Each moment is a present, if you will. You, in that sense, get to unwrap that present moment. But you only do so by firmly grounding yourself to that moment and only express that by seeing what's right there. Living in the moment is that simple. Simply factoring out what you cannot act upon and choosing with your integrity and with your excitement from what you can act upon. Before we proceed to interact, allow us to also say, when we say do what excites you with integrity, and have explained many times that we mean integrity means your recognition of your integration with all things. This would always mean doing what excites you while still maintaining your agreements. Now understand, part and parcel of the idea of agreement itself is the ability to communicate, the ability to, perhaps you can say, change or alter the agreement if it no longer works for you. But integrity, again, is cognizance of the agreement and not willingness to move unilaterally in that sense. So therefore, you can still do what excites you and be cognizant of what it is that is within your integrity, of the agreements you have made. Therefore, nothing is being breached, and there is no reason in that sense to create what you call guilt about doing what excites you. For when you are truly doing what excites you with integrity, it is always only of service to you, and only then of service to everyone else. For when you are willing to be who you are most firmly without any hesitation, you are then that much more a clarified, clear, sparkling example to everyone else. And that is what they see, the example. Perhaps you can say they see you as an example more than they actually will hear what you have to say. So your actions truly do speak in that sense, louder than your words. Therefore, because you are eternal, though you are expressing that eternalness through timeline, you may understand, though we are speaking about becoming a member of the association, in the ultimate sense, you already are. And in the sense are simply now reactivating your membership, remembering yourself to the association as a member, willing to act in the way that expresses to individuals in your society so that they may see that it is possible and quite pleasant, that there is such a thing as the unity by the granting of validity to the diversity. And only in the situation that you have created, your planetary situation, can this be conveyed to individuals at this time by example. For there is, shall we say, quite an abundance of promises, quite an abundance of realities that one can partake of in your society, in your political structure, in your economical structure, in your sociological structure. But in that sense, understand that you create it all. One moment. You are, in that sense, the ground breakers, the trail blazers. For you will enable individuals to see, to whatever degree you succeed, in being self-empowered, unconditionally loving, willing in that sense to assign meaning according to preference, willing in that sense to free yourself from the bondage of what you consider to be your unpreferred past. You will literally provide an service in that sense that is unprecedented en masse in your society within your recent history. So as you act like a member, not only are you more visible to us and to the many other members of the association, but you also become a more blatant gift and symbol of the association to your society. And again, only you can prove it. But if you decide to, it does work. So therefore, it is an example of a system that works, but only when you apply it. And you will begin to find an increased interest by individuals in your periphery to these ideas, not as you speak them, not as you display enthusiasm about them, but as you embody them and remember the association. Therefore, allow us to express our unconditional love and ecstatic joy at your willingness to begin to interact with us as equals, to begin to unfold into your own diversity without in any way taking away from your notions of integrity, integration, unity. You are, in that sense, a mini mass consciousness. And you have, in that sense, an impact on the maxi mass consciousness. Truly, this is so. you will begin to see blatant evidence of this, and it has already began. But we'll find, as of tomorrow of your time, a blatant acceleration. Therefore, allow us again to thank you for co-creating this gateway with many other consciousness and with members in that sense of your own ancient past. We thank you and ask now, how may we be of service to you this evening? Shedding Ace.
I would like to talk to you along those lines about control.
All right.
When I was a little girl, being sexually abused in my family, I felt very out of control. And then later on, being in psychotherapy for about 6 years, trying to learn how to integrate my feelings and how they work, I began to understand that you have to accept your feelings. But at that time when I was in therapy, it was a very hard time of feeling totally out of control.
Well, again,
Hyperventilating, not being able to breathe, and being totally fearful
Ace.
with no controls over it all. They called it free-floating anxiety, with no control over what I was feeling. And after I learned a lot about feelings, I still didn't feel that I had answered all the questions when my son was killed, and I felt totally out of control again. And I would just like to know, where does all this fear come from?
Well, again, emotions are always a reaction or a response to a belief. And this is in and of itself a liberating notion. For they do not exist in a void, do not exist in a vacuum. And only can you use them by first granting that you have created them and feeling them, allowing them in that sense to run their course. Where you feel the lack of control is in trying to, in that sense, stop the course of the flow of your creation, which in that sense is impossible. You cannot get rid of it. Where will you put it? But what it allows you to do by coming to the surface is to look at the beliefs and decide whether or not you wish to keep them. Now, this was not necessarily your approach when this would occur. But now that you have become familiar of this through these interactions, do you now see where they are the windows to your beliefs themselves?
I understand that, but is control the same thing as our creating? In other words, what we create is the same. I feel like you can't control anything, really. I can't control what I'm going to feel 5 minutes from now, what's going to happen to me 5 minutes from now.
What you are speaking of control is controlling in a forceful way, having it be just this way, melding it, forming it to be exactly this way. That is one form, perhaps you can say, of control. That is a form of control, however, that presupposes within you that you are not in control and therefore need to make or force something or have something conform as the evidence that you are in control. You set up a resistance which you then overcome as external evidence that you are in control. But understand that you can simply realize the notion within you that you are already in control. And that therefore to express that control is an allowance and not a forcing. Part of your particular reasons for choosing this style of reality with the forgetfulness that you impose of the other lives and portions of your totality is the idea of the unfoldment and the joy of the discovery. But this is an allowance. And this is also trust in what you would call timing, whereby many times individuals who feel out of control simply insist that a particular timing is the only way that they will accept it. And if it does not come at that timing, they are out of control, for they have not gotten their way. But understand that you can trust in timing, and you can simply say, this is my intention. It is my clear intention. Therefore, because I desire it, because I am excited about it, it is a representation of who I am. If I am simply willing to continue to blatantly be who I am, it will come along and manifest because I say so and because it is a representation of who I am. But it will only do so in the exploration of timeline and timing in a particular timing, which when that timing comes, you then find that it had a particular advantage in being in that timing. So basically what we are discussing here is trust. Trust and understanding of timing and allowance rather than domination. Does that answer the question?
Yes, that helps a lot. And I would like to just ask you, on your planet, you have no fear, no anger, no sadness. It's just total unconditional love.
Ace, we do not experience it quite in that way. And you will find as you allow these emotions and use them and glean and find that a particular set of beliefs, which are generally disempowering beliefs, lead to fear, lead to the helplessness of the invalidation of anger. You begin in that sense to simply choose not to believe that. And when you no longer believe something that has the corresponding, shall we say, result of what you are labeling these types of emotions, you no longer experience those types of emotions. Now understand, you do not need negative emotion in order to experience the positive by standing out in relief. Now that is one way, obviously, but it is not the only way. There is sometimes arises the notion from members of your society that you need to have some misery to appreciate your happiness. And yes, that is true, but it is not the only truth. What I am getting at is we are not bored, and we do not feel any diminution of our happiness because we have no sadness to weigh it against. We simply revel in the ecstatic joy, which has many nuances, many what you may consider emotionalities, but none with negative interpretation. We also have not one little bit of what you would call doubt in our consciousness. We always are 100% committed to what we are doing. For we understand that only can we attract a representation of who we are. So we are always firmly ready and willing to dive into whatever we create, for we know that there are jewels to be discovered within any exploration. Is that of service?
Yes, it is. I have one other question I'd like to ask you.
All right.
The space probes that left the prints around my father's cabin in Maine, if he had been there, could he have seen them? What do these probes look like? And are there people in them? And are they just coming down and taking pictures of us?
Now understand that there are many civilizations and many, many different styles of probe. The one that we are perceiving, you are speaking about, is in general spherical and will have particular protrusions upon quote-unquote landing, which is not always in that sense necessary. You will in general, in flight, perceive it to be of a reddish light.
And was there a spaceship right close in proximity that it dropped down from?
Not exactly in proximity, in the, shall we say, sense that you mean it, perhaps from our perspective.
And where might it have come from?
Our strongest perception of that particular probe would originate from what you label reticulum, zeta reticulum.
Oh, good, because I want to ask you just one more thing.
Oh, all right. One more. All right.
I've been working very hard on trying not to be fearful and to stay grounded.
Are you tired?
Yeah, well, I get tired.
All right. Don't need to work so hard.
All right.
Simply feel it. Allow yourself to understand on some level, you know what you're doing. Feel it. Create it. Dive into it. Oh, this is only fear. Not yet at terror. Get into it. Feel it. Whatever you're going to create, as you say, go for it.
That's what I've been doing.
Then you will be in the frame of mind to very easily understand what you believe.
I want to share something with you I thought was quite a progression on my part. The whisperings that were in my bedroom, you had told me you thought were Zetas or whatever, and they had just continued trying to get in touch with me because I was too fearful. So I thought to myself, well, next time something like that happens, I'm going to force myself to keep my eyes open and see what I see.
All right. Now, in that sense, relax. You don't have to force yourself. Can simply do so from the curiosity. But do proceed.
Well, going out of my bedroom the other night to go to the bathroom, I came back in, and in the corner of the room, I saw this face with the black slanty eyes. And I shut my eyes and I opened again and I looked and I thought, well, maybe not this time. And I ran around Tom's side of the bed, made him push over so I could get in on his side. Was somebody really there, or was that just a way of my projecting it in my dream state to see if I could really handle it yet?
Now, perhaps we mean to unsettle you with this answer, but both you get to choose. In a sense, you may understand that by not having made the choice, you are within a universal reality whereby either can, shall we say, become true.
Depending on how I choose to.
If in that sense it serves your purposes to disengage from the interactions, it will in that sense be simpler to have it have just been fantasy. But if in that sense you choose to progress and continue on with it, then it will become most obvious that it, quote unquote, was real. But this is the degree to which we will allow, perhaps you can say to the last moment, you to believe that we exist or not believe that we exist, so that our interacting with you does not, in that sense, interfere with that decision. You will always, perhaps you can say, until we blatantly, physically, face-to-face interact, have the ability to choose not to believe in us. And then therefore create a world, perhaps you can say, whereby we do not interact with you.
Integrating that fear seems to be the key here, whether just to allow the fear to come and then try to put some, conscious decision about it in my head, or like Tony when he had him appear in his bedroom or whatever. He said it took him a few weeks to integrate the fear, and I just don't know how to do that.
All right. Well, again, it can be integrated in the flash of the moment that you are willing to experience it and allow the fear to deliver to you, to hand right to you, the belief that causes the emotion. For that belief will be, number one, a belief with which you will say, yes, I do believe that. Perhaps you will also say, wish I did not. But yes, now that I have brought it to my attention, it is most obvious that I believe it. And here is your liberation. For you cannot change it till you own that.
I really do believe it, but it's that fear of losing control.
Use the fear and understand that you can only, in that sense, have the control you are speaking of by letting go and allowing your reality to be the reality reflective and supportive of who you are.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Have a good time. Pleasant dreams. Ace.
Hi.
Female.
Thank you. Thank you for being here today.
And thank you for being there as well.
I had a very interesting week this week. I had a visitation from members of the White Brotherhood
Ace.
and members of the Purple Council from the Pleaidians that oversee the manifestation into form.
Well, how colorful.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful. And they spoke with me for a very long time and communicated a lot of things to me. And I wanted to ask you a couple of things about that.
Do share.
They told me a lot of things, but one of the things was to remember the healing capacity that I have in my hands.
All right, remember. All right.
And as they were speaking of this, golden streams of light were pouring from my hands, and I was remembering a lot of it. They also told me that I contained within me a scroll of light that cannot be taught and cannot be learned.
In a sense, you may understand, not to in that sense denigrate what you are saying, that you all contain this. And in a sense, you would not be able to perceive of any knowledge or learn anything lest you first did. But now you are at the point where you will be willing to unfurl that scroll.
Okay. They also told me that I have different DNA structure, which I've been told before. Can you expand on that?
Simply that your body is a reflection of your consciousness and not the other way around. So therefore, when you are willing in that sense to choose, to alter, to choose different styles of perception, you then have physical, literal physical corresponding changes. This in that sense is simply the degree to which you have been willing to change your consciousness being reflected in your physical vessel, so to speak, that is perceptible by individuals. It is in that sense, shall we say, an earmark of your willingness to integrate yourself.
I would like to increase the communication.
Well, go right ahead.
Do you have any suggestions?
Yes, go right ahead. And the reason that I said it that way is that is all there is to it. Now, perhaps we can expand a bit, but wish to keep it very simple. Simply, 3 steps. You seem to like small numbers. 3 steps. Relax. Breathe. Allow. That is all. Then perhaps, as a nice touch, you can add the 4th step of validate what you get, which you already have.
I was also made aware of my name, which is Ilana.
Ace. In a sense.
Can you tell me about that name?
That will simply be, shall we say, more of a representative translation into your language of, shall we say, what you might consider your signature vibration itself, your soul essence, so to speak.
I feel as though I resonate very deeply with the sound of that.
Ace. Also, if you will simply look it up, you will find the word Elan, which is contained within there, to have many meanings that are quite relevant to what you are exploring.
Can you tell me anything about the tones that I heard with the colors that I saw?
In a sense, they are simply the audio representation of the overall vibration, which many times when the vibration will be communicated to you in this way, it will encompass, in that sense, more than one physical sense. And to you. Next shedding.
Elan.
Female.
Elan, this has been a brand new experience for me this week. I finally...
Not another one.
I finally got in my heart and soul and experience that you exist.
Well, perhaps you can say you simply allowed yourself to begin to realize that you are a member.
I don't know what to say about it, but I wanted to share it with you directly.
We thank you for now being willing to view us as your equals.
Thank you. And along with that came, in that opening, such a longing to connect with you.
You just did. What do you think you are doing right now? All of you.
I just feel very moved.
Oh, thank
I
you.
feel so much love.
We share that. That is unconditional love. It has a distinct signature. That is what you are feeling. You are centering within yourself and also now allowing yourself to explore the regions of your consciousness that you have formerly labeled alien. We simply represent that, and your willingness to expand to that degree now simply encompasses us within your reality. That is why we thank you for viewing us as your equal. Is that all?
I have another question.
All right.
What is our ongoing relationship? Do you, for example, for me, Shira, how much is she involved in my life here? Does she just...
To whatever degree you are willing to utilize the connection and no more. In that sense, perhaps you can say from her end, colloquially speaking, when in that sense you desire contact, she just happens to have had, quote unquote, nothing to do at that moment. So it is within the flow of her life, no interruptions. Never in that sense are you calling any of us away from what we are doing, for we structure our reality to time out, shall we say, in a purposeful way.
Does she make the contact from her own accord to me?
From time to time, but generally upon your request. Understand that being that she represents a future that you may choose in that sense to unfold into, you are in that sense intimately related, for you are becoming her, so to speak. Do you understand?
Yes.
It was the timing for that next level of that revelation. We will allow you to sit with that and perhaps share again. Shutting.
Elan.
Ace. Over there. Male.
Elan.
Ace.
Evening.
And to you, greetings.
Thank you. Flight's running. Well, the other day, I finally gave up. I said, that's it. I can't fix this.
One moment. Individual over there speaking about control. Listen up. Proceed.
I released my control of the vehicle and Billy Eric through the dealership.
So in a sense, you may say that by letting go, you ultimately gained control and the desired effect.
because he told me to do a few things and get it ready because he was going to pick it up. And I tried one last thing because he was just going to replace it anyway. And I said, oh, what the hell? And I started it up and it ran fine.
All right.
Magic.
In a sense, yes. But that is the rule, not the exception in your reality.
Well, I just figured it was because
It is because you looked at the issues surrounding the physical reflection rather than steeping your consciousness in the reflection itself. And as in a sense you continue to integrate the ideas that we have discussed and that you will discover without discussing it with anybody, you will then find, shall we say, the other two bikes to come along as well.
I started those next week.
Oh, all right.
In the meantime, I'm going to enjoy this.
Oh, thank you.
That's all.
Oh, that is quite enough. We thank you very much. Shedding.
Elan.
Over there, female.
Hi, Elan.
Greetings.
Good to be with you again.
Yes.
And thank you for inviting us into the Association of Worlds.
Well, thank you in that sense for attending. For many of you have already from time to time acted like and therefore by extension been a member. I, in that sense, now wish to share that with you.
Several weeks ago, I had some periods of negativity and began to feel sort of overwhelmed by things and then began to feel not too well. And
Did you feel out of control?
yeah.
What did you do?
I had some things happen through synchronicity that I got my messages from and discovered that what I was doing was not staying in the moment. I was rushing through what I was doing to get to the next thing, rushing through that to get to the next thing.
Now, allow me to pause you here for but a moment for, again, that other individual. A lot of times what you will perceive to create fear is, again, projecting an unpreferred future. In that moment, you are still in the now moment, but you are creating an unpreferential future in that now moment and having the emotional reaction to that expectation. So that is another reason you may find when you are actually feeling the fear and are willing to go through what you believe that you may also understand and in that sense identify as to whether or not you are fearing something which is not in that sense inherent in the moment, which very often will then recenter you to that moment. Do proceed. And thank you for your synchronicity.
You're welcome. I started to closely watch what was happening and what I was thinking and was able to trace this particular belief system that I believe has been governing a lot of my life for a long time.
Do share, for there are many others that share it as well.
This one where you're not staying in the moment. You're thinking about what's coming next, and you're hurrying to get to what you're doing to get to the next thing and to get to the next thing and to get to the next thing. And I was able to stop doing it, and I haven't done it since.
And it is that simple. That simple. Simply making the choice.
And I had some interesting things happen to give me my clues. Something I heard from someone, how I reacted to losing my car keys, how I reacted to making mistakes in my baking, which is very serious. And noticing that, I realized I wasn't being careful and I wasn't being patient. And it's wonderful how seeing this, once I saw it, it stopped. And I don't do it now. And I haven't done it since I saw it.
Ace. And that is also, again, what frustration in and of itself is. It is not being in the moment. It is assuming that something out there is better than what's right here. And when you allow yourself to see what is right here, you then give yourself the opportunity to appreciate why you created it and how it serves you and how it enables you to unfold according to preference. Is that all?
I have one question for Henrietta, who's the metaphysical counselor in Southbury, who has the place.
All right.
Okay? She wanted to know if in the ship that's over her house, are there any beings from Essassani?
No.
Thank you, Elan.
And we thank you as well. Over there. Ace.
Greetings.
And to you.
I really enjoyed the invitation to the association.
Well, thank you.
I already felt that I was a member all along.
Thank you.
had been living those concepts that you shared with us. I've been playing many segments of these interactions on the radio to make other people on our planet aware of the great joy.
All right, allowing other people to match that wavelength. Yes.
With your society is a very beautiful idea to us.
Oh, thank you.
And I don't really have any questions.
That was in and of itself a statement. And we thank you for your willingness to simply be who you are and with no hesitation be willing to share that with us. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll let you go on.
All right, over there, female.
Me?
Ace.
I have a couple of questions, Elan.
All right.
The last time that I was here, I mentioned to the person sitting next to me that I was having trouble meditating, which I still am. But she gave me a couple of ideas, and I went home, and the very next day I did what she had said. And I had something happen to me that has not happened since and never had happened before.
Well, how exciting.
Well, I was, but I wish that I think I get afraid now that, I don't know. Anyway, let me tell you what happened.
Oh,
I felt like all of a sudden there was this young man. I was on top of a mesa, and there was this young man sitting in front of me, and he had his back to me. And I never felt such love that I felt a connection.
Ace.
This human being that I've never felt before ever.
Not recently.
Well, not in this lifetime. And so I tried to get him to turn around. He did, but I really couldn't see who he was. Who was he?
It is, in that sense, a soul with which you are very directly connected. Perhaps for the purposes of this particular life, you can say that you are mother to son energy in a sense. But understand that he has chosen for the time being to function as a guide, and in that sense is one of the strongest symbols that you have created, called forth from within you, that will in that sense enhance and be willing to in that sense play with you in what you label your meditation. So if you will simply continue to utilize that symbol to extend that type of an invocation and invitation to that particular individual soul, if you will find an aid in that sense to your meditations, and also can ask many of the questions that you have directly to him. Simply listen for the answer, and perhaps they will surprise you.
He was an Indian.
For the purposes of identification in what you have shared, the presentation of the energy was in that vein, representing a connection to a particular set of past lives as Native American Indian, yes. But there are more ancient ties than that, which you can explore directly with him.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, thank you, and thank him.
Thank you. This morning when my husband and I got up, we discovered that our mailbox had been stolen.
All right, special delivery.
Well, whoever took it really took care. It wasn't vandalized. It was very carefully taken apart. And I felt scared because I thought that, why had this happened?
Well, perhaps you had the nicest mailbox in the neighborhood.
No, that's not true.
Just having some fun.
I know.
You can lighten up a little bit, you know. You won't crack.
Did we attract a person to come and do that to our mailbox?
In a sense, that does not excuse, shall we say, the perpetrator for the act, which in that sense was out of his own integrity. But it allows you in that sense to look at many things. One of them being the idea of being willing to trust synchronicity. Also being willing to forgive whatever symbol in that sense you create, in understanding that nothing is extraneous. Here you give yourself an example of something which would seem overwhelmingly extraneous. But now you get in that sense to apply what we have been discussing with you in understanding that nothing is, and looking at how that symbol relates directly to you. Now, to some degree, the symbol of your mailbox will, in that sense, represent your receptivity and willingness to accept communications from others. So now that you are beginning to look at this, perhaps you will, in that sense, buy a new mailbox, which is more reflective of that willingness, perhaps with a bigger door. But the idea is you can look at the symbology of what it means to you. Do proceed.
Well, that's what I thought, but I couldn't figure out why I had decided to have this happen to me.
What does it now force you to do?
Ask you the question.
What else?
Try and figure out why it happened.
What
I thought
else?
it had something to do with maybe with communication.
What else?
Get a new mailbox.
Get a new mailbox. And therefore, you may assume that in the process of doing so, it would behoove you to keep your eyes open. For you have now forced yourself, in a sense, to be in a particular place at a particular time. Trust that. Keep your eyes open.
Okay. All right. Now I have one more question.
All right.
The other night I went to a lecture given by a young man who talked about the Hopi prophecies. And a lot of material was given out at that lecture that I found rather disturbing, one of which was a channeled map of the United States. And it showed that within a short period of time, at least this is what this young man said, that we were going to have so many devastating things happen to us that we were going to lose California and Nevada and Utah.
Ace, this is one train of thought.
New York City.
That is not our perception, by the way. But do understand, in the days where many of these predictions were rendered, they were accurate sensings of imminent change. But the societies that existed with the issuance of these predictions only believed that change could occur, particularly drastic change, with a, shall we say, breaking down of the old structure. So therefore, any, shall we say, energy which would seem to sense change would then have the society plug in their way that they would perceive as the only way that change could take place. Yes, that is one way, but obviously not the only way. We have also to some degree discussed the idea that there are many, an infinite number of parallel dimensional Earths. So you may understand that if such a notion exists, so does such a reality. But by your becoming aware of it and your, shall we say, not preferring it and simply choosing anew, not out of fear, but out of preference and out of that choice being representative of who you are, this sets up your vibration so that the earth, so to speak, that you are on will simply not contain that style of cataclysmic changes. Changes there will be. And to some degree, you will find some physical changes upon your planet, even on your earth, but they will not experientially affect you. Is that clear?
Meaning me in particular or us on Earth?
Us in this room and individuals who choose in that sense to partake in the transformation in a positive way, which is an option. Was there something else, however?
Thank you very much.
And to you. Shutting.
Elan?
Ace, female.
Elan, hi.
Greetings. Hi.
Hi. Thank you for being purple this evening. I love that color.
Oh, all right. It simply represents the opening of your crown.
Right. Thank you. Richard and I are playing with some words at our classes and adding to our linguistic file. One of the words that we've been playing with of late is context.
All right.
And I was wondering if you would give us your definition of context.
All right. Context is simply a framework, a frame of reference in the overall arbitrary nature of reality. Therefore, you will create within the overall very loose framework particular points of view, particular frames of references, particular structures of your beliefs that have you perceive reality in a particular way, and therefore a context through which to experience your reality through these beliefs, emotions, and thoughts.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Relevance, in a sense, or relativity.
I'd like to also ask about before when you spoke at the entry.
By the way, to extrapolate, something can be in context relevant to who you are, but out of context simply not relevant to who you are. So therefore, when you change, when you shift your reality, it is not that your old reality is no longer there. It is simply out of context with your new reality and therefore not experienced in your new reality.
Thank you. Is that better?
Ace, proceed.
You talked about the electrochemical field. When you're talking about the senses.
Ace, electrochemical in that sense. Your first 5, what you typically call senses, are electrochemical in nature.
Okay. What is the difference between the biomagnetic, the electrochemical, and the electromagnetic fields in terms of the physical body, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual body?
Repeat.
The electrochemical field is what we perceive to be our 5 senses.
They are not necessarily in that sense the electrochemical field. They are, shall we say, the products of electrochemical reactions, so to speak, in that sense.
Okay.
They are electrochemical in nature. Their mechanism, their physical mechanism is electrochemical, whereby there is in that sense the transference of chemicals throughout what you call your brain, but there is also the electrical component to it as well. Whereas the 2 additional senses, your sense of, in that sense, spatial orientation, and your sense of vibrational discernment are purely electromagnetic and have in that sense not the chemical, shall we say, corresponding compound, so to speak.
Okay. Is knowingness
Transcendental. It is simply, shall we say, all-encompassing.
what then makes up the biomagnetic field? What sense fits in the biomagnetic field?
Not so much the idea of a sense, but one of the many manifestations of your physical reality. For you gradate, so to speak, yourself from non-physical reality into physical reality and literally have quasi-physical aspects about yourself. In a sense, you can say your electromagnetic field, in a sense, is the periphery through which your non-physicality manifests. It is, so to speak, the ether in between, so to speak, very colloquially.
Okay, that's the electromagnetic. What's the biomagnetic?
When we say biomagnetic, we mean electromagnetic field of your own body. Perhaps you can say electromagnetheric.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
That's great.
At this timing, we will pause for a short break of 10 to 15 of your minutes of counting and resume contact at that time. All right, I'll say, before we continue, allow me to assist and facilitate in the delivery of a communication from another aspect of your Earth family. One moment. We wish to communicate with you. Congratulations for your willingness to embody the principles which will allow for the unitization of our planet. understand that it brings us great joy to prospectively interact with you at this time. It is not possible for us to swim in your sea. So therefore, should you wish to initiate communications with what you might label aliens, we are right in your backyard. But it will require, in that sense, for a physical interaction, the idea of you coming to us. Therefore, we invite you to swim in our sea of, as you say, ecstasy, our sea of joy. For when we are closer to you physically, then it allows us to sense, to feel your vibration and communicate with you what you might call telepathically. Therefore, if you wish to function as a member of the association, an ambassador, if you will, then you have upon your planet, upon this planet right now, that we share the ability to do so by interacting with us. We recognize that the day is approaching whereby we will be one world. We desire this most greatly. We have in that sense been separated for a long time, and now wish to again remember you. Therefore, we invite you to swim physically with us. But we also invite, in that sense, contact in a similar fashion through what you call your sleeping dream. For this is a meeting ground which is common to us both, a sea in which we can both swim. That is also a sea of ecstasy. Therefore, focus, and in that sense, in the next few nights, if you are willing, we will swim together and begin to act as unified citizens of one world. For we are your brothers and sisters of the sea. We thank you. Was the message received? Yes. We thank you. There was a degree of adaptation for the channel in that sense to be able to deliver that communication. It seems for some reason that is an area of resistance within him. However, allow us again to thank him as well as you all for what has occurred in this sense. This evening of your time is nothing less than a reunion of members of your soul family that you have not interacted with physically in quite some time. So therefore, it will always be up to you in that sense, whether or not you wish to interact with them, the dolphins, the whales of your planet. But should you wish to, you will find a degree of willingness on their end that you have not till this time in your history seen. For the time is ripe, and the gateway, the threshold that will allow the ease of transition for many individuals that you perhaps never thought would change, will also be the same conducive doorway through which you will reunify another race of beings that you coexist with in much of a similar fashion, in much of a similar style of consciousness upon your planet. And we thank you. Shedding. Female.
So is that sort of the energy that Andrew is feeling today associated with the connection with the dolphin energy?
Perhaps you can say he sensed the resistance.
Yes, okay.
The energy in and of itself is not unpleasant. But when in that sense you do not trust what it is you have created and feel that perhaps one little thing can slip in there, you can in that sense experience that as a resistance. However, it has been a lesson for all.
So was that a collective?
You are actually in that sense communicating with a particular dolphin, the style of which we have called dreamer dolphin, though not the exact same one that has in that way interacted through what you would label Bashar. For there are more than one that function in this capacity. The particular individual that communicated with you this evening of your time is now round and about what you would call your Hawaiian Islands. They think so.
Thank you.
And to you, male, Ace.
Thanks. Well, that got rid of my first question.
All right. We suggest that it did not get rid of it, but we understand.
That was really great, and I enjoyed it so much.
So did they. And in that sense, it is their desire to communicate with you, though it need not be in this particular format. That is one option, but you may understand that their invitation was a very personal one to each and every one of you.
Yeah, that's nice. And speaking of the dream reality, how we can be with them, that came to my realization that I am actually swimming in some sort of fluid in my dreams. Is that true?
Well, to some degree, yes.
Yeah.
Your atmosphere that you perceive to be empty space is actually filled with electromagnetic fluid. But the orientation of the weight and mass of your body makes it seem in that sense to not be very buoyant. In that way, when you experience this in your dream reality very often, you will perceive the thickening of the atmosphere itself, which creates a seeming buoyancy. But that is in general an intermediate step toward, shall we say, free flight.
Yeah. Well, I'd just like to thank Dreamer and to ask for assistance through maybe means of ultrasound in my adventures.
All right.
I think that's what I...
In a sense, you may understand that their form of communication, what you would call their verbal, so to speak, communication, is in that sense ultrasound. For though you perceive some of the, shall we say, sounds that they make with your ears, there is a degree that exists above and below what you would label to be your range of hearing. So therefore, ultrasound. But it is the emotion, it is the physical proximity and the feeling and the playfulness that you will in that sense utilize to synchronize with them. And shall we say, again, most generally the communications will enable you to begin to validate what you label your telepathy.
Great. You know, the light just went out behind you, behind Andrew.
All right. That will make at least one individual happy.
I see. Okay. I guess we can all use that as a symbol.
All right. Does not matter to the channel now.
Yes. Okay, let there be light. There's light here, and one more question: if I built a pyramid and it was in the attraction of UFOs to that, I'm interested in healing energy. I'm interested in healing the planet energy. Will it attract UFOs in the same
Not
way?
in the way that you mean directly, no. And would be far more able to focus energy in a way to create a conducive atmosphere for you to, as you say, meditate and perhaps experiment with what you call astral travel.
Okay.
We thank you.
Thank you.
Shedding. Ace. Male. Up here.
Yes.
Ace.
Me?
Which one?
Which one?
You.
Me. All right.
Be bold.
I have experienced recently what I would describe as sort of windows of my consciousness.
All right. Before we go on, are you recognizing your inherent abundance?
Yes.
All right. Do proceed. Just checking in.
In these windows, I am. And in this moment, I am. These windows are sort of like things becoming very apparent to me that I am creating my reality and that I can create it to my preferred.
Ace.
And this is exhilarating to me in these moments of these windows opening.
Ace. And they enable you, as windows do, to see many things. Where perhaps the distinction and assistance will lie for you is after having viewed these windows to create some doorways. For only can you look through a window, you can walk through the door.
I've experienced my left ear has been sort of, I think it's being rewired. It's shut down for rewiring for the last month or so.
All right.
And perhaps this would be one avenue for me to explore through a doorway.
Well, it always gives you the ability and, shall we say, opportunity to listen within. Mm-hmm. By removing perhaps what you perceive to be your ability to listen without, you need not do it that way, but you're getting down to the business of listening to what is, in that sense, inaudible, will perhaps allow you to rehabilitate, so to speak, that symbol.
I had a dream last night of a whale again, and this whale came out of the water. There was such an interaction with it, and I felt so much love coming.
Ace, and again, we refer you to the fact that you are beginning to act as your higher consciousness. And that is a symbol of that.
I believe the whale said a word. I believe he said freedom.
Ace. For that is your freedom. Your willingness to not need to connect to a higher self as though you are separated, but simply be willing to express the higher self that you already are is liberating. Yes.
And lastly, I have interesting learning to report in the sense of interacting with what we call insects here.
All right.
And this was in the form of wasps, of which I frequently work around in the work I do. And I noticed that my intent was to make friends or peace with these wasps, but my actions were of defensiveness and wanting to swat them away.
All right.
Where it occurred to me that if I changed my actions, perhaps to my beliefs, or my actions would reflect a different belief. If I really believed they were my friends, that they didn't need to be hostile, that I wouldn't do this. It did definitely change the way they interacted with me.
And will continue to do so to the degree that you are not setting up a protection, yes.
Yes. Now, I did have one sting me when I wasn't even thinking about it. Stung me on the arm.
Oh.
And
now you get to explore unconditionality.
Yes.
Are you only willing to be friends if?
Yes.
Or are you simply only willing to be friends? Period.
I think, so as my arm is beginning to swell up and I feel this welt developing and the pain is shooting through my arm.
Well, how exciting.
It was very stimulating. It occurred to me that I did not have to have a defensive reaction, that I could accept the fact that the wasp was telling me that his home had been disturbed by me inadvertently. But, and that was all that I need to know about this from this information being delivered to my arm. And within a few minutes, it just went away.
Well, thank you. That is how simple it is. That is how direct and complete it works. But only will it when you do it. And the doing of it need not be complicated. Therefore, thank you for expressing synchronicity. Thank you for expressing willingness to assign positive meaning. And thank you, in that sense, for being unconditional and using your creations, thereby realizing again your abundance, for you have an abundance of unconditional love.
We are going to be doing a cable broadcast on August 26th, which you will be presenting ideas to the people in Fairfield County in a larger way.
We will attend, if that is to be, yes.
Yes. Well, we would be glad for you to attend.
Well, thank you.
It won't be much happening if you don't.
If the parameters are set up, we will not disappoint you.
Would there be a title you would like to provide now that we could have it off the headings of the show?
One moment. Not yet.
I assume that's not the title.
Well, it is up to you. It was not intended to be.
Well, thank you very much.
Oh, and you as well. It is always our joy to interact with you all. Shutting.
Elan.
Female.
Good evening.
You're next.
After our contact on Wednesday night, you had told me that I would be experiencing some residual effects.
Ace.
And
Have you been enjoying yourself?
yes, immensely.
Oh, thank you.
It was as though I was just glowing and radiating unconditional love. And I went into work the next day, and people I don't know, who I've never seen before, were passing me and looking at me and smiling and saying good morning or whatever.
Ace. For when you change, all else will reflect that change. Others will seem to change. But you are simply acting according to a new vibration and thereby allowing them to match that vibration. It is that simple. To change your whole world, simply continue on with what you are doing.
Well, I noticed also that there were people who wouldn't even make eye contact with me.
Ace. But we discussed this as well.
That's right. And I understood that, and that's fine.
Now, there is something we did not share with you purposefully at that time. Would you like to hear it?
Yes.
You created it. Therefore, you can never lose it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I did have that realization, and
Now, perhaps we planted a seed, but the seed was made of you. So was the water, the fertilizer, and the lightening up.
got it.
Oh, thank you.
Also, I did play the interaction for my friend Jennifer, and I just wanted to share with you also that she got the message, and she got it in a big way. And
She got it in more ways than she even realizes. There will be additional information that will follow from within.
I've noticed over the last couple months that I've been occasionally, maybe 3 or 4 times, becoming sick to my stomach for no apparent reason. One of those times was last night, and I kind of just went with it because I figured if I was creating it, it must be for a reason. And I'm a little curious as to what that reason is, and I was wondering if you could provide me the assistance.
To some degree, it is a matter of what you would call physical adaptation to the changes that are occurring. What you perceive as the discomfort is the judgment of those adaptations, not the actual adaptations themselves. But there are many physical, shall we say, shifts in the electromagnetic field of your planet, in the electromagnetic field of your mass consciousness. And again, simply you need not judge them and experience them. When you allow them to flow through you, they are, shall we say, hardly noticeable. When you, shall we say, stop them up at a point, they can, well, the analogy is not be digested as well.
Okay, that's assistance.
Understand you have your balance. You have not lost your balance. And you are more than able and willing to digest the things that you are exploring in your reality.
You said that there are 3, you and Bashar, and there's a third individual.
Ace.
Is that the individual I identified as a Shitara?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Though you can contact her directly. This is an individual that we have not really discussed too much before.
Where is the Shitara right now?
Would be upon our planet of Essassani.
Thank you.
And to you. Female.
Hi, Elan.
Greetings.
Good morning. Good afternoon. Good night.
All right, that seems to cover it all.
Yeah, good night.
All right, next sharing.
I just
We're getting a hang of your language.
you really are. I thought you.
In actuality, I still speak very little of your actual language. Do proceed.
I was listening to Mark next to me talk about silence. To me, I interpreted it as silence,
All right.
which has been a topic of mine now, and I seem to be, I am feeling the context of silence as very valuable.
All right. It can be. In that sense, it is a pause. It allows you to change directions. But it is by no means a place of no activity or no sound. Within the silence is contained all sounds. Is that all?
No.
Are you being silent?
Yes. and I was in doing some toning and sounding. A lot of it isn't heard with the ears, like you're saying ultrasonic with the dolphins. I make sounds, but they're not with my vocal cords.
All right. Have you seen a doctor about this?
No.
Just having some fun.
And I read a book called Oversoul 7 or something, and they use these sounds that were beyond
Words.
All
right. We have discussed this.
Yeah. And do you use these sounds for any?
Well, again, understand that we are telepathic and do not speak. So sounds upon our planet in general will be perhaps what you would label music, would be perhaps what you would label to some degree vocally singing, and sounds of nature.
But beyond sounds, beyond the word sounds.
Well, in a sense, that would be represented by our ability in that sense to create similar thoughts at the same time. Telepathy. For in that sense, words are not necessary. It is direct soul-to-soul knowingness. Words, in a sense, are a removal, are a description of a reality. Knowingness is simply the reality itself. Oh, thank you.
This design that I made in the first half, can you get a picture of it?
No.
It's on my picture. I made a picture of a circle, and you were talking about the planet going through a gateway, or this day and tomorrow representing a kind of a gateway. And there's a pointy kind of takeoff pad. I don't know. Can you add to that diagram?
Simply that, in a sense, you may picture, if you wish, the gateway that your planet is passing through as a triangle. With one, shall we say, side representing negative polarity, one representing positive polarity, and the third representing the integration of the two, which is what you are now exploring. For now, that will do. And we thank you. Shedding. Male, then female.
Just briefly, it was interesting to hear this dreamer, and that led me to think of two questions related to mermaids and mermen.
All right.
Can we, aren't mermaid and mermen basically humans who at a preference they made to explore being in the water without feet and just being able to swim within the sea?
In one sense, you may say that. In another sense, you may say representative of humans never leaving the water to begin with. But they do not exist physically within your dimension of reality. They do exist physically in other dimensions of reality and certainly exist within what you would call the archetypal substream of your mass consciousness.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Could they communicate as this dreamer did through
Through us, no, for it is not the definition, so to speak, of my job, but it is possible for other individuals, yes. And there are such existing individuals upon your planet right now who already channel, so to speak, this energy.
energy. Okay. So on our particular realm of existence at this point, mermaids and mermen would be in parallel Earth realities, so to speak.
Ace, and perhaps you can say one of the only opportunities that you might have, though we do not in this sense recommend it, to perceive them would be in the area you call your Bermuda Triangle, for that gateway is an interdimensional overlapping gateway of many dimensions.
I'll be going to Florida in September for about 12 days. Will I be going through the triangle itself?
It is our perception that you will not, but you will in that sense create a strong degree of opportunity to interact physically with the dolphins.
I see. I plan to do that when I'm down there. I'm looking forward to it. And
So
that's
are
all. I thank you very much.
And to you, female. Ace.
I'd like to talk about two things. One, our inherent abundance, which is something I heard you talk about a few minutes ago. And the other thing I want to talk to you about is my own fluctuation between separation and integration, or negativity and positivity.
All right.
How do we go about recognizing our own inherent abundance?
Well, as we have shared, and perhaps you were even present in that evening, by simply, again, broadening your definition of what abundance means, of what actually allows you to exercise your ability to create in the moment and draw what is necessary in order to create the way you wish to in the moment. When you rigidly assign that it can only come by the one particular societal symbol that you have, you do not allow all the other ways. And the inherent abundance in the situation may not be in the form of money. So therefore, first of all, our suggestion is to broaden those particular perspectives in how you will allow it to come about. For ultimately, what does it matter how it was delivered to you if you get what you want when you want? And it is within integrity. So therefore, that is suggestion number one. Suggestion number two also is that abundance is representative of your willingness to exchange within your environment, within your reality, and does not represent something that you hold onto or store in a room. So therefore, very often individuals will allow themselves to see this in many ways. If they are unwilling to create the flow, will sometimes create the symbol of what you label thievery, so that they must then create the flow.
Okay. The other thing I want to talk to you about is I seem to fluctuate between real negative synchronicity and positive.
Well, negative synchronicity is the denial of the synchronicity in any given moment.
I agree. I agree.
So therefore, very simply, all you need to do is remind yourself, this is not an accident. This is meant to be. Can I see how it serves me? Since I obviously have seen how it does not. If the answer is yes, glean it. If the answer is no, find what is right in front of you and get back to doing what excites you from what's available in the moment. When it needs to be obvious, it will. And that is the trust we are speaking of.
Could you maybe give me a suggestion of how to short circuit old shell shock when a lot of negativity happens in your life?
Can you give an example? The idea is that the question is somewhat general, and if you wish a specific tool, then if you provide a specific example, we can simply apply what we are saying in that instance.
No, I can't. Not at this time. I can't.
All right.
I could, but I don't want to.
All right.
But thank you anyway.
That is up to you. Now, this conversation, though it may be perhaps pausing, is not over. All right.
Thank you.
And to you as well. Over there, female.
Yes, Lon. Hello.
Greetings to you.
Earlier this evening you mentioned 5 races. I'm only aware of 4. I was wondering if you could tell me what they are. 5 races.
In a sense, it would boil down to what you call white, black, brown, yellow, red.
So brown would be the best.
Ice, what you might sometimes call Mediterranean.
And I just wanted to know if I could be so bold as to add one more concept to our remembering ourselves with the
Please do.
Gratefulness to all that is, to myself and to you and to others.
Ice. And in a sense, your willingness to recognize synchronicity is your willingness to flow the appreciation to the universe for the many splendiferous ways in which it provides the things that you perceive. And we thank you. For that in and of itself is the ultimate form of validating, and perhaps will apply even more strongly to the things that you don't prefer, for your appreciation in seeing how everything serves you is what in that sense enables you to use it all. And by noting that you do not prefer something, but still allowing yourself to glean, even though you don't prefer it, how it still serves you, is appreciating, is showing in action the appreciation for the symbol and not accepting anything as extraneous.
And yes, I was going to choose to use the word appreciation rather than gratefulness, so you tied the two in together for me.
Both will do, for you can truly be grateful also.
Thank you.
And to you. Shutting. Ace.
So, the third person on the ship, is that Aya?
No. Though we are, in a sense, in contact with her.
Okay, who is that then?
That is an individual that we will discuss in a future interaction and will directly communicate with you. And to you. There will be but a few more moments remaining to this interaction. Shedding.
Elan?
Ace.
This summer, we just came back from a trip up to Maine and we were right close to the coast. And there were a whole lot of people right near our campsite that were staring out with binoculars looking at the ocean.
Ace.
And I've been going through all this negativity and stuff this summer and really trying to sort things out. And I took the video camera and I put it on close-up. They thought they were seals, but they were dolphins and porpoises having a hell of a nice time. Clearly surfacing above the water. And I took it as a wonderful sign. I thought to myself, oh, if I could just swim and be free and not worry about the things that I do like they do.
Next time, bring a bathing suit.
It was absolutely beautiful. When we go down to Florida this next February, I'd like to swim with them and be close to that energy.
Now, do understand along what you would label your ocean coastline. It is actually possible, even in this particular area, to swim with them by simply issuing the invitation and then going about your excitement.
That would be wonderful because they kept coming closer and closer and closer to
Well,
shore.
they are in that sense willing and in a sense deliciously anticipating the ability to interact with you in a closer fashion, yes. Then go right ahead. Thank you. Shedding. Ace, male, then female.
Hi.
Greetings.
I had another question.
All right.
At the private session we had a couple weeks ago, you had given me a prescription for bathing. Should I continue this?
Do you perceive that the symbol we discussed still remains?
Not only do I perceive it, it's actually
By the way, this is a good sign, for you are in that sense releasing rather than withholding. How many times have you performed that symbol?
just the one time.
We would suggest a total of 3.
Oh. Thank you. That's all.
And to you as well. Female.
Hi.
Hello.
What do you mean you're in contact with Aya? Where is she?
She is in that sense also aboard craft, what you might call mothercraft, whereas I am upon scout craft. And for particular reasons of coordination, there is direct contact from time to time. Some of this, to some degree, will have to do with you. So perhaps when you are willing, you will tell me.
Thank you.
All right. I'll assume that that means you are not now willing.
Right.
All right. You will be. Thank you. Shedding. Ace. Greetings.
Greetings.
You already have the roster.
I have the roster. So where is Aliota?
Seems like I've become quite the location service. One moment. Mothercraft as well. In the area for the holiday.
In this area.
Ace.
I see. So the whole mothercraft is here, not just the
Ace.
scout.
Ace. In general, we travel together. That is the point.
Will contact with Scoutcraft be available to us in the coming days?
Not if you fixate upon it, not if you find that it is necessary to validate what you are experiencing.
Totally unnecessary.
Well, what you say and what we sense differ. Perhaps you can utilize one of your sayings, thou doest protest too quickly.
I see it now.
But we are having fun, and you understand what we are saying. It is not out of the question, but not again if you fixate upon it, for it will take, shall we say, a diffusion of vision, not a focus to perceive us at this time.
Elan, I wish to question a phenomenon. The other night in Southbury, Laura and I were looking up at a very clear starlit night, and there were repeated flashes in the sky.
Ace.
It would appear to be diffuse lightning. However, there was not a cloud anywhere in the area.
Ace, but this was the phenomenon you sometimes call heat lightning.
Good, thank you. I wanted that explanation.
Oh, we thank you as well.
And might I ask, will we be experiencing the time machine from the future in the near future?
Perhaps not, for the point was already made.
Granted. Thank you.
And we thank you as well. Shedding.
Elan,
Ace.
said you're on, or the mothercraft is on holiday. When is it not a holiday?
Very good question. Thank you. We mean your holiday.
Oh.
Tomorrow.
Is it like, are you going to see fireworks?
We always do.
Made by the waves of consciousness.
In a sense, yes. Very astute. Now, if you would like some physical celestial fireworks, watch your skies on what you label between your August 11th and 12th. You will have quite a shower.
Uh-huh. That's the...
Is that all?
Yes.
Ace.
It brought to my attention right here that tomorrow the Olympics also are opening.
All right. How exciting.
Symbology about, coming up nations and the lighting of torch.
And the 5 rings. Yes.
I'm doing a drawing at home of a triangle.
All right.
You're not aware of that, are you?
Proceed.
Wow. Yeah, I'm doing it, and I started out with the adventure of using your symbol of the Essassani society. Black field, black triangle with a halo of blue.
This is not so much our flag, for we have none, but simply a meditational koan that in that sense, in the visualization of it, tunes you into the vibration of our frequency. So therefore, again, perhaps you can say a type of phone number.
Oh, I see. Because I want to draw this.
All right. Go right ahead.
I'm stopping at the color of the blue tinge.
Well, how exciting. That's the best part.
Okay. Anyway, the drawing I've done is totally going another direction. It's not going to what we're talking about.
All right. Do understand that the blue-white light is representative of the imposition of the field of your planet.
Okay.
So it is your precise planetary connection to us that is embodied within the symbol itself.
Great. Okay, I'm having a lot of fun doing it.
Oh, thank you.
It's exciting. I like it.
It all is, if you allow it to be. At this timing, allow us to once again re-welcome you, remember you to the Association of Worlds. As you walk your talk, as you do what you say you wish to do, you will again begin to expand your sense of perception. You can, if you wish, experience this, as you say, as discomfort. But if in that sense that occurs, simply realize that you are judging the process. You are assuming something slipped in there, which it cannot. Therefore, take 3 deep breaths at any time you perceive this and release. Release. And allow energy to flow through you. You will literally increase your vision. You will literally increase all your senses and begin to notice an enhancement of them. And you will literally be walking from the 3rd to the 4th density. We welcome you as your children. And in that sense, unconditionally love you always. We bid you a most fond and loving pleasant dreams. Keep your eyes open while they're closed. We will interact in dream time. We thank you.